selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling Sacramento, buying the block back, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling slack, selling Sacramento, buying the block back.
Let's go, Mr. Bey. Can you hear me, Jamal?
Okay, I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. There we go. I hear you now.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me? Hey, everyone. It is Wednesday. How are you? You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento. On today's show, our discussion is the impact of inflation, gas, and war on real estate. What is the impact of all of these things? They're all happening at the same time. When it was COVID and inflation, that was one thing. But inflation, and we're feeling the squeeze of inflation. You go to the grocery store, everything is so much higher, $1, $2 higher. You really notice it. At the gas pump, you truly notice it. The cost of gas, I paid 104, $105 for 14 gallons of gas a couple of days ago. I've been sitting at home for the past 2 days. I went out one time. It's getting crazy. And then how will all of that impact real estate? That's what people want to know, because the big question still, the big elephant in the room regarding real estate is that prices are so high. When is the market going to crash? That's what everyone's waiting for, right? So on my show, with me on the show today to have this discussion about inflation, war, and gas prices and its impact on real estate is one of my lender partners, Mr. Jamal Bey of Guild Mortgage. How are you, Jamal?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Keisha?
Good to have you here virtually.
Good to be here.
Folks can see you on social media and we can hear you on the radio.
Awesome.
We are going to jump right into this because I know that there's some changes that are happening in the mortgage industry because of all of this too. One of the biggest issues and concerns being the interest rate, right?
Yep.
Talk to us,
for sure.
update us on the interest rate. What's happening? One day it's up, the next day it's down. What's impacting the interest rates?
Well, we're going to definitely dive into the interest rates in more detail and what's going on the forefront with buyers and what they're seeing, as well as what's going on the back end and how interest rates are being controlled. The Federal Reserve Bank just met today. Today's interesting day to have this show, very coincidental. And I'm not sure if you planned it this way, but the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve met today, and they did decide to increase the federal funds rate. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how that's going to affect interest rates moving forward. But it's a monumental day because for the first time in the past 2 years, the federal funds rate has been increased. So they have been artificially or choosing to keep the federal funds rate at zero to help galvanize the market and strengthen the economy. But at this point, the Federal Reserve has decided that they are going to increase that federal funds rate. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that decision and how that's going to play out here in the market.
That's great. And you'll also let us know the difference between that rate, that going up, and how that actually impacts the mortgage rates. And when we come back from our first break, we'll dive into that a little deeper. But before we go on break, I want to read something to you all. This is a story from the National Association of Realtors, and it talks about how all of this could have a big impact on home prices. And so it says that soaring inflation, spiking gas prices, and the war in the Ukraine have taken their toll on just about everyone's bank account, right? As well as their frazzled psyches. We're just, losing our mind pretty much. Hold on, y'all. We are already experiencing the worst inflation rates of the 21st century. And now the round-the-clock bad news is even sparking fears of another looming recession. The overwhelming uncertainty over what's coming next has already led to turbulence in the stock market and in investment portfolios. We've been feeling it there too. And it has a real potential to impact the super overheated US housing market in a substantial and lasting way. Whether or not prices continue their skyward movement or come back to earth will largely depend on how all of these issues play out. Rising inflation and gas prices, as well as the US Federal Reserve's plan to raise rates to tame runaway prices, are each standalone events that could lead to a recession. And now you have all three of them occurring all at once. These challenges are making renting, buying, constructing, and even owning the home you already have more expensive. All of these issues we are continually faced with, it's a cake layer of misery, and Putin's just the icing on the top. And that's a quote by Sean Snaith, the director of the Institute for Economic Forecasting at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. He says, while wages are growing at a fairly rapid pace, the cost of living is rising even faster. Your paycheck can buy fewer and fewer things. Think about that, you all. Think about that. All of these issues, a recession wouldn't just hurt the economy. It would likely be a wallop to the housing market, with the potential to slow down home rents, with the potential to slow down home prices and rent prices that have leaped to previously unimaginable heights. Rents are up nearly 20% from last year. For homes for sale, median list prices jumped 14.3% compared to a year ago in the week ending March 5th. That's according to the most recent Realtor.com data. Mortgage rates are also shooting up, increasing buyers' monthly housing payments. But that doesn't seem to be reducing sales prices. Mortgage interest rates reached 3.85% for 30-year fixed rate loans in the week ending March 10th, according to Freddie Mac. That's about 80 basis points higher than just a year ago. And if another financial downturn seems imminent and potential buyers are worried about the stability of their jobs, that could be a game changer. If you're about to buy a house, the biggest financial commitment you'll ever make, and you think the economy may head into a recession, that might make you think twice. So when we come back, we're going to peel back some of the layers of the first part of this article and explain to you how that applies right here locally and what things we'll try. No, not try. We're going to share some steps that you can take to get in front of a potential recession and educate you on how do I want to say this? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Nothing new under the sun. Where the intersection of preparation and opportunity cross is an opportunity for you to come out better when this is all said and done. And so Jamal and I are going to jump right into that when we come back from the break. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Hey, Miss Viana. Thank you. Hey, Key, stop by from Nevada for some of your good nuggets. All righty.
Awesome.
Teresa said she is faithfully listening. Thank you, Miss Teresa. Thank you, ladies. If y'all are out there listening and watching and you have a question for myself or Jamal, type it in the chat. When we're here on Wednesday afternoons, this is an opportunity for live Q&A. Thank you, Miss Rochelle. Great and timely show. Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's So we want to get the information out there so that we are all prepared as we move into this next cycle. Tamika, hey girl, yes, hey. Yeah, so we've got some potential buyers watching. We've got some buyer shoppers watching, Jamal. So they are listening to what you have to say. What's that commercial when when E.F. Hutton talks? I don't know. Jamal, are you old enough to know who that is?
I don't know who E.F. Hutton is. No, I cannot say that too.
Oh my God, I feel so old. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone listens. That was the commercial, right? It was back in the day, and it was like, I think the scene in the commercial was there was like this party going on, this little in-house party, and then E.F. Hutton is an investment firm, right? Is that who they are? And so at the party, there's a person that represents E.F. Hutton, if I'm getting this right. And they're not saying anything the entire time, but when they go to speak, so there's all this noise and gathering and stuff happening. And when they go to speak, everything just stops. Everybody turns around to listen to what E.F. Hutton has to say. Right? Rochelle remembers. Yep. Everybody listens. Yeah. Teresa, I made sure to post that you are on to help with their real estate thoughts, needs, and questions. Thank you, ma'am. That's what it is. I need to update my, what is it called? The about the show to say that. Thoughts, needs, and questions. That's right. Oh, you're playing the commercial. Gracias, señor. So Leon did a really nice commercial for the event. It's playing right now. I wish I had asked him to do it a month ago. It's okay. You live, you learn.
Oh, I saw that. The for Anchor Academy.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Thank you. Oh, we're back. Almost. Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key with my guest, Mr. Jamal Bey of Guild Mortgage. Say hey, Jamal.
Hey everybody.
And our show today, we are diving into the impact of inflation, war, and gas prices on the real estate industry. Those are three major things that are right in our face right now. You can't turn or move without running into one of the three. And so we want to make sure that we provide information to you about how that, if it's going to impact the real estate industry, and how it's going to impact the real estate industry. And before we went on break, I was reading an excerpt from an article put out there by the Realtors Association. I almost said Realtist. The Realtors, Association of Realtors. That's not even right. National Association of Realtors. The point that I want to make is that the article emphasized if another financial downturn seems imminent, and if you are a potential buyer worried about the stability of your job, this could be a game changer. It could be a game changer with us experiencing a recession. How many of you listening right now have gone to the grocery store and your grocery bill is higher just than it was 2 weeks ago? And we're talking about increases in basic necessities, right? I thought it started getting bad around Christmas time when I went to buy crab for my gumbo. I thought that was just a fluke. Crab is up to like $37 a pound or something. It's nuts. It's really nuts. So Jamal, one of the other key factors that we've been seeing being used throughout the industry is the mortgage interest rate. At one point, the feds said they were going to raise it. This was last year. And then as we got into this year, not only did they say they were going to raise it, but they were going to raise it 9 times. I think I heard like 9 times throughout the whole year. And then when the war in the Ukraine started happening, interest rates dropped.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, I can say that those of us that are, watching the economy and watching what the Federal Reserve is doing and kind of keeping our ear to that side of the spectrum, we kind of have been expecting this to happen. And I recall in October, November, December, quarter 4 of 2021, having conversations with some of my clients about the potential of rates to go up at the top of the year. And so, and from our perspective, we understood that the government, the federal government, through the Federal Reserve, has been subsidizing the mortgage market for quite some time. And when I say subsidizing, I simply mean they have been doing whatever they can in order to keep the interest rates, mortgage rates, and the rate at which banks borrow from each other, to keep that rate as low as possible. And the idea behind that is in the light of the pandemic, in light of people losing their jobs, in light of businesses closing, the last thing the federal government wanted to do was to increase the cost to borrow money. Okay. And so as a way to keep the economy growing, right, part of that was to keep those interest rates low.
Right.
And so we started at the beginning of the show talking about the federal funds rate. And the federal funds rate is the rate at which banks borrow from each other in the short term. Banks must keep a certain level of reserve in their accounts every day, every night at the end of the close of the business day. And so if their reserve is below the threshold, then they must borrow from other banks who have an excess in reserves. And then they lend that money back, or they pay it back in a short period of time. So it's technically a one-day loan. And the rate at which they borrow from each other is called the federal funds rate. And that rate, although it's not directly connected to mortgage rates specifically, it does have an impact on mortgage rates. And the reason being is because if the cost for banks to borrow money increases, to borrow money from each other increases, then they tend to pass that cost on to the consumer in the form of higher interest rates for their short-term loans. So this is, your credit cards, your personal loans, your 5-year, 6-year loans. Those are still considered midterm, short-term financing. But at the same time, it also does apply pressure to those long-term loans, which are your 30-year fixed mortgages. Okay. And so, again, since 2020, the federal funds rate has been effectively zero. So the cost for banks to borrow from each other has been minimal, if nothing. And so we just found out today that has finally increased. Okay. So now it's going to cost the bank more money to borrow from each other. So the expectation is that's going to have a ripple effect. Okay. from a consumer standpoint. Now, what does actually control mortgage rates is something called mortgage-backed securities, or MBSs. Okay, mortgage-backed securities are the instruments that are sold on the market day in and day out. And as these mortgage-backed securities fluctuate in cost and in price, that's directly reflected on the interest rates that you see as a consumer, as a buyer. And so when I say subsidizing the mortgage market and the government subsidizing mortgages, what I mean is the government was buying and was the largest purchaser of mortgage-backed securities for the last 2 years. And they were buying $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities on a monthly basis. Okay, $40 billion monthly in mortgage-backed securities for the last 2 years. Okay, and as a result, we were seeing some of the lowest rates historically ever that we've seen. Okay. Right. And, to be honest, a lot of us were spoiled, right? And from the professional industry and from the consumer side, right? Once we started seeing these rates, the expectation is that rates are going to continue to stay low. Okay. But of course, that's not the case. And so last year, we, heard from the economists and from the experts and from the Federal Reserve panels that they were going to begin tapering off the amount of mortgage-backed securities that they are purchasing. Okay, and they were not going to be buying $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities anymore. They were going to slowly start tapering off. And so when we heard that back in Q4 of 2021, we already could see the writing on the wall. Right. And so that was the wake-up call for a lot of us to say, hey, let's make sure that we give our buyers and our clients the best opportunity to get into these homes, right, before we start to see these rate changes. Okay. And so what I think a lot of us didn't necessarily realize was the rate at which, the speed, right, at which rates would increase. Okay. Right. It was almost like clockwork. January 1st, my wife and I spent New Year's in Miami in January. I came back, I think, on the 3rd or the 4th. And I looked at my rate sheet. I was like, "Oh my goodness, what is going on?" So, and I want to get an opportunity to kind of put all this in perspective too, in terms of it's not all doom and gloom by any means. Our rates, even at 4%, are still relatively low when you go back.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's take a moment and park right there, because you've placed a lot of really good information on our laps to help us understand how interest rates work and why we are where we are. So, does that mean that buyers should be nervous or step back? Is it, and this is barring we know that the inventory is not there, right? Let's assume that the inventory was there. The rate that we are at right now with mortgages, is this still a good time to buy?
Short answer, yes.
And why is that? I knew you were going to say yes.
Of course, that's going to come. The short answer is that yes, real estate, of course, is somewhat about timing, but that's almost irrelevant to the fact that everyone needs housing. Okay.
Right.
And the reason why real estate continues to grow year after year after year is because of the simple fact of supply and demand. And this is a commodity just as much as, water and grains and wood, right? And I remember hearing about the lumber prices, right? We talked about that
Right.
last year, right? And the cost of construction and the supply chains being all messed up. This is a truly another commodity. Housing itself is another commodity. And so as long as there is a demand for housing, right, um, generally real estate will appreciate over time. Now, the timing comes in when you are savvy enough and you have the right team that can tell you, hey, now might be a good time to refinance, right? We can save you, X amount of money because, we see that rates are coming down a little bit and it makes sense to do this now.
Let's talk
Right.
about that. When is a good time for someone listening right now? Because we know that there are constantly mortgage lenders that are out there sending out mailers or on the radio broadcasting, hey, we can refinance your house. This is a great time. When really is a great time to refinance?
Okay.
Set up a scenario, like a great scenario for a potential for a homeowner.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why someone would refinance. I would say, the top three would be to get a lower rate, to take cash out, or to add someone or remove someone from a loan.
Okay, talk about
Those are
getting a lower rate. What's the best scenario if you're trying to shop for a lower rate?
So you probably want to at least try to drop your rate. The general rule of thumb is at least 1 point. Okay, it's at least 1 point, and pay very minimal, little to no points or fees to do so. Okay, we're talking market rate. When you buy down your rate, that means you're paying a lot more to get the interest rate that you want. So in addition to your closing cost and everything, the cost of doing the refinance, you have to buy down your rate too. So we look at where you are now and where the market is. If you can drop 1 point and not have to spend a whole lot to buy that rate down to 1 point, that's usually a no-brainer, particularly if you bought your home relatively recently. And this refinance will allow you to eliminate or partially reduce your PMI, which is that private mortgage insurance. That will also help to aid to the savings and the benefit of refinancing. Latrice asked, can you refinance from an FHA to a conventional? That is a great question. Of course, you can certainly refinance from an FHA to a conventional. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people will refinance, because FHA is going to have PMI for the life of your loan. PMI is what you pay when you put down less than 20%. PMI stands for private mortgage insurance. And so it's going to be on your loan for the life of your loan. Unfortunately, that's part of the requirement for the FHA. But if you refinance to a conventional and you have 20% equity in your property, then you can get that PMI removed. Okay. And
that's another good reason to refinance.
To
remove that PMI.
Yeah. And so, of course, your lender, a good lender, will kind of work through the numbers with you to make sure that it does make sense, even with the PMI removal. But yes, that's a great question. And it's a very common thing for people to do, to refinance from FHA to the conventional. I call that the two-prong approach. The FHA gets you in the house. The conventional is your long-term financing that you settle into.
Awesome. Awesome. And one of the things that you mentioned, one of the other reasons that you said people refinance is to get someone on or off the loan. What would that situation look like?
So you have newly married couples, right? Like newly engaged or newly married couples, and the spouse wants to go on the loan with the other one, maybe to improve credit or to be able to combine assets. So that's a common thing. Then you have others that are separating and splitting, and per the agreement, they have to split their assets. And so that's when someone comes off of the loan. Another situation might be a parent who wants to add their child to the loan, right? To make things easier for estate planning purposes. Okay. And so that's a very common thing that we see as well when adding people and taking people off.
Okay. And so I really like that you're sharing this information, because as we talk about a potential recession, what people want to start doing is taking a closer look at your budget. Naturally, you start tightening your purse strings, but what we are advising and recommending is that you do it with a strategy. Be very strategic about it, and think down the road. So here's where we're going to try to set you up for success. Preparation, meeting opportunity. 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to see inventory start to build back on the market. It's going to take a while. 5 to 10 years is not a long time, y'all. 5 years ago, where were you? What were you doing? Where were you at? You know, Facebook will let us know in a minute what we were doing 5 years ago when that memory thing pop up. And you look at that Facebook memory, you're like, oh my gosh, 5 years has gone by. It doesn't even seem like it was that long ago. What if you could prep yourself today for success for your future self? Think about that. We see that there are laws and things that are in place that hit January 1 this year, January 1 last year, to help pave the way for more construction. So we didn't know that the war was coming. We didn't know COVID was coming, any of that. But the way was being paved for more houses to get on the market. Those houses and those processes are still in place. They are happening as we speak. I told you, I think a couple shows ago, maybe the last show, you start looking around some of these empty lots now, and now they're building houses. You see the construction going up. So what are you saying, Keisha? Position yourself now for home ownership success in the next several years. Your credit score right now could be a 300, and you're thinking home ownership could never be for you. You could have a 600 in less than a year if you get with a program. You could find an additional $100, $200 in your income if you budget properly, if you learn to budget properly, if you learn to have a better relationship with money. Who doesn't want to have a better, just the sound of it? I want to have a better relationship with money. Anybody else? Yes. Diana said yes. You can learn what the home buyer process looks like, get to know and talk to mortgage lender professionals just to help you map out a plan for future home ownership, so that you're positioning yourself for the opportunity, because it's coming. It's coming, right? Mm-hmm. Investing. The stock market is just, it's falling as low as the housing market's going up, and the stock market's going down. Everything on sale, even Google. It's all going on sale. Position yourself. Arm yourself with the education that you need to make this happen. And yes, I am about to plug our real estate and wealth building conference. Write it down. MyAnchorOnline.com. Go to that website and sign up, because it's coming next week, Friday and Saturday next week, March 25th and March 26th. There's a whole lot of work, great instruction that has gone into this. Guest speakers that are coming. Jamal is going to be teaching one of the classes that Saturday morning. You'll get to meet him live and in person. You'll get to talk to him about your personal stuff and have a one-on-one with him. MyAnchorOnline.com. Register now. We are limiting in-house participation to only 60 registrants. We are over half registered right now. And I know that people wait till the last minute. We actually even have a code for KDEE listeners and my viewers. If you register and at the checkout, if you use the code never too late, NEVERTOOLATE, you'll receive a 25% discount on your registration. Never too late at My Anchor Online. The classes: Debt-Free Living, class number 1. And you get a free book entitled Say Yes to No Debt. They will actually be here at the chamber for you to pick them up before the class. When you register, you'll get an email that tells you that they're here. We're waiting on them to come any day. Say Yes to No Debt. That book is going to help you, and that class is going to help position you with the education that you need during times like this. We are headed, all the signs point to a recession, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't have to have things happen to us. We can be prepared and equipped so that as they happen, we deflect the pain. And not only do we deflect it, but we come out stronger because we were braced for it, right? The next class is credit restoration. And you all hear me talk about Jeff Sipes of Blue Water Credit. He and his team over in Roseville, they help you within 6 months. If they can't help you within 6 months, it can't be done. That's how I say. You got some other stuff going on, but I tell you what, there's nothing too hard for them. They've seen it all. Jeff's going to be teaching the credit restoration class. And then we have home buyer preparedness. Jamal Bey and Asia Allen of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, they will both be teaching those classes, helping you understand the mortgage process and the home buying process. This is all in preparation, you all. This is where preparation gets ready to meet opportunity. It's coming. Do you want to be ready? And then we have 2 additional classes: Introduction to Investing. Robert L. Woods of the Greater Sacramento Financial Literacy Group. He is just an amazing, amazing teacher. He's an author. He has his knowledge and he's a super humble gentleman, just humble, full of knowledge, that kind of person, right? He's going to pour into us. If you have never invested before, you don't know where to begin, you hear about it, you want to take advantage. I just said, y'all know, you can go and check. Stock market is on sale right now, but it is not going to be always on sale. It's going to go back up. You want to be ready before it starts going up. And then we have Introduction to Cryptocurrency. And for that class, we actually have the chair of the education committee who's going to be teaching that class of the Greater Sacramento Financial Literacy Group, Felix Sims. If you don't know what a Bitcoin is or Doge or any of that, you don't know where to start, you just want to, what is this stuff? I just want to know what everybody's talking about. Then that's a class that you'll want to take. Register online, myanchoronline.com. Register today. Space is limited. We also have virtual registration. This show, for such a time as this, y'all heard Jamal when he first got on the show. He said, I don't know if you planned this show, you timed it just right. Guess what just happened? Y'all, I'm trying to be in alignment with what God is telling me to do. And I know my purpose. If I don't get paid for any of this that I do, and I don't, I spend a lot more of my own money than I do getting it back for doing this. But this is seeing people be successful in their finances and their home buying and in their businesses. That is my reward. That I love to see that happen. I love to see people do better. So I'm really glad that Jamal took the time to be on the show today. Kiera Norman, my girl, yes, she said yes, and looking forward to my special announcement. Yes, she don't let the cat out the bag, Kiera. Jamal Bey is the best from my personal experience. That is Robbie Ellington, Mr. Ellington. Yes, yeah.
Thanks, Robbie. That's my guy.
Yes. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to come back with some housing stats for you all. The stats are in for the month of February for Sacramento County real estate. We're going to tell you where these prices are going, where the inventory is going. You're tuned in to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key with my lender partner, Jamal Bey from Guild Mortgage, and we'll be right back. Hey, awesome. Y'all. I think I missed some of the comments. I'm going back up here. Let's see. V said she and her husband moved to Nevada for the home prices California has moved in. The Bay Area's raised prices. They're coming in with hot cash. Yes.
Yeah.
With cash, for sure.
That's real. Mm-hmm.
And Angela says she's watching. Yeah. Yes, honey. That gumbo was expensive. I made 1/3 the size of a pot of gumbo that I normally make because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So next time you make some gumbo, kids, you gotta call me.
Brother up. And you know what? I ain't even trying to sound all yes, I am. My gumbo is the bomb. Now, let me just say that. Hey, Miss Latrice.
All right.
Hey. Miss Nikki. Hey. Kiera said y'all are tight.
Thanks, Kiera.
Serena, how lucky I am to sneak a peek of your show. Oh, yay. Hey, girl, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Jamal is bringing the deets and the receipts so that we can be prepared for what's coming next. It's really exciting when you can look down the road and prepare today in expectation of what's going to potentially happen, and then to get there and be prepared. Mm-hmm. Really exciting. Mm-hmm. Yes. Hey, lady, I'm glad you can catch it too. Yes. Another investor mover and shaker right there. She and her husband doing the thing. Hey, Jamal, Latrice said, kudos to you too.
Oh, thanks, Latrice.
Yeah. So the stats. I sent you the email on the stats, Jamal. Did you see it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanna touch a little bit on it. So when you can talk about because I want to discuss like the inventory, how that largest pool is right there around that 500,000 to 750.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You see that for sale 362.
So let's talk about inventory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what that means from a financing perspective, right? Because anything over 675 is going to be jumbo.
That is interesting. Gracias. Mm-hmm. I didn't even highlight or look at that. The 5 to 749, 750.
Yep, that's your largest pool of.
And that's now
properties.
Jumbo.
And that is now jumbo. Anything over the loan amount of 675. Wow. So we have to strategize on how do we attack that, right?
Okay, we're coming back. Hey, everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We are selling Sacramento. I have with me my guest today, Mr. Jamal Bey of Guild Mortgage. Say hey, Jamal.
Hey.
Now let's talk about inventory. I am looking at the stats for February 2022, Sacramento housing market, single family homes. And this list was distributed. It's distributed every month at the Sacramento Association of Realtors. If you go to sacrealtor.org and click on the consumer tab, you can get this information every month. It's available to the general public. sacrealtor.org. And when you get to the homepage, there's a tab that says consumers. In that drop-down menu, there's going to be housing stats, housing statistics. Click on that and you can get what I'm reading right now. The median days on market decreased from 8 to 7 days, and the average days on market decreased from 21 to 17 days. Days on market represents the days between the initial listing of the home as active and the day it goes pending. Of the 1,082 sales this month, 84%, 915 homes, were on the market for 30 days or less, and 93.8%, 1,015, were on the market for 60 days or less. So if we look at inventory, we have this list in front of me actually lists inventory in accordance with the price point. Something Jamal pointed out to me is the price range of $500,000, that is $500,000, $500,000 to $749,000. There were 362 homes for sale. And of all of the house price ranges listed, that has the highest number of homes for sale. And that is considered, if you're a buyer buying in that category, that's considered a jumbo loan. The next highest number is 146 homes, and that's in the $750,000 to $1 million price range. I'm going to go back, though, to the previous number. Of the 362 that were for sale in that month, guess how many actually sold that month? 482. That is like almost triple the amount of any other home category price point that's sold. Mm-hmm. That is wild. Who's buying all of these? Who's buying this priced home? Jamal, give us some insight on this.
That's wild to me. It's wild to me to see what our market has done over the years, to see that we are now in officially over $500,000, where the largest pool of inventory resides.
Right.
And so, to your point, in our county, Sacramento County, the county loan limit is $675,000. That is the county loan limit. And what that means for a buyer is that the majority of loans on our market today are called conforming loans, meaning these are loans that can be securitized by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. Those are the government-sponsored entities. Mm-hmm. If it falls outside of the range of the conforming loan, then that means it is an outside of the box loan, generally something we would call a jumbo loan, right? Mm-hmm. A jumbo loan is anything that doesn't fit within the conforming standards or higher than 675, in this case, in our county, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're dealing with jumbo, you're going to have more of a challenge in terms of higher down payments, right, for a jumbo, higher credit requirements, and generally a requirement for a reserve amount, which is an amount that you need to have in your bank at the time of closing. Reserves can range anywhere from 6 months of mortgage payments all the way to 18 months of mortgage payments, depending on, the program, the jumbo program that you're looking at. And so the jumbo programs can be somewhat restrictive, particularly if you need down payment assistance, or if your credit is not the best, right? Or if you have high debt to income. If you have these kind of challenges, it's going to be very difficult to get a jumbo loan. So the reason why I bring this up is what we've done, and what we've been doing a lot more lately is working on a strategy called piggybacking. And what piggybacking does is we structure the loan so that instead of just one loan to buy the house, it's 2 loans to buy the house. And we do one loan up to the loan limit. Let's say in this case, 675 is your first mortgage. And then we do a second mortgage, right, which will generally have 10% of the purchase price on your second mortgage. That will usually be in the form of a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, and that will be your second mortgage. In this way, we can still keep your loan conforming because that first mortgage is still under the 675, and we can avoid having to do jumbo. So that's something that we've been seeing a lot more of lately. We've been doing a lot more of those type of piggyback loans to help buyers get into homes at these higher price points without having to put down a significantly more down payment or having to have 12, 18 months of reserves after closing.
Okay. Got it. At first I said Sac County, but I was thinking you were referring to jumbo loans. But you're saying this process is to avoid getting into the jumbo, which has stricter guidelines and it's harder to get into.
It can be. Definitely. So we have a strategy, is what I'm saying. We can still go jumbo, but we also have another strategy to help buyers get in at these higher price points.
So it's good to know that you have that available and you've shared so much good information for us. If people want to reach out to you, we see that you've got a fan base already here in the chat, but so they know how to reach you. If other people listening and watching want to reach you, Jamal, how should they reach out to you?
You can always give me a call. You can check me out on Facebook. I am on Facebook, obviously. You can Google me. I am Googleable at Jamal Bey. Just Google Jamal Bey Sacramento, and I'll pop up. My branch is located in Sacramento. What's that?
That's Bey, B-E-Y.
B-E-Y, that's correct. Yep.
And what's a good phone number for you?
So that's 510-502-4850.
Tell us that number one more time.
That's 510-502-4850.
And again, you can catch Jamal next week, Friday and Saturday. He will be at the event on Saturday teaching a class, 3 classes back to back on home buyer preparedness, he and Asia Allen. And that link to register is at myanchoronline.com. Use the code 25% off, never too late, never TOO late, and get 25% off. We're talking about the impact inflation, the war, and gas prices are having on real estate. We're telling you, housing is coming. Recovery is coming. What's getting ready to come sooner rather than later, we want to brace for. This event will help you not only brace for what's getting ready to come by helping you develop a strategy to tighten your pocketbook, but that strategy will also help you be very successful 3, 4, 5 years from now when things get back on the rise, so you are able to participate. You want to be able to participate before the stock market starts to increase so that you can jump in that train, that gravy train, and get some of that gravy. Some of us are in our 40 plus and we don't have a proper retirement. This is how you get a proper retirement in the next 5 to 10 years. Get educated about all of the processes. Brace yourself. Get ready to prepare for opportunity. Opportunity is coming. Jamal, give your contact information one more time.
Yes, ma'am. So that's my phone number is 510-502-4850, and you can send me a text message or give me a call.
And the reason I'm asking him to send you his information so many times, is because I want you all to get into the habit of just having the conversation. When I share my lender partner or my vendor's information, when I have individuals on this show, they already know. They are not in salesman or saleswoman mode. They know that they are there to help hold your hand and walk you through the process so that you gain an understanding, so that you have a solid footing, so that you're very clear about the process and you're doing it on your own timetable, not theirs. So I want you to be very comfortable calling these individuals. Tell them, hey, I heard you on Selling Sacramento on 97.5 FM KDEE, however you remember it. I heard you on J King's radio station. It doesn't matter how you tell them how you heard it, but just let them know you heard about them and you're calling because you just want them, him or her, to walk you through the process. My credit score is at 400. I'm divorced. I filed bankruptcy last week. I filed bankruptcy 8 years ago. I've got these evictions on my record. I don't have a job, but I'm looking for one. That's those of you who qualify with any of those points that I just made, any of those scenarios. If that's you, you are who I'm speaking to when I say call and just have the conversation to let them help you map out a plan. And yes, they are going to take your application because they need to see the numbers for themselves to help you get from A to B. And if you are one of those individuals who that sounds like you also need to sign up for the conference happening next week, My Anchor Online. If the finances are an issue for you to register, send me an email at agentkey007@gmail.com. agentkee007@gmail.com. And let me know that you're experiencing a financial hardship, but that you would like to attend. I'll get you in. Don't worry. That's what we do, because this is not about me none of this is paying my bills. God takes care of me all day long. And so, I'm not concerned about helping anybody else, but this is what he's called me to do. Jamal, thank you again for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. That's our time. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. And remember, if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top. Hey, everybody. Mrs. Stell. Oh, Sarita said she got a new job. Took a personal banker job. No longer have control of her schedule. Okay. Hey.
Here we go.
Good job. Go on, girl. Mrs. Stell says, another very informative show. Thanks for keeping us informed. Very timely. Yes, preparation meets opportunity. Nikki, you are so welcome.
You're welcome.
So very welcome. Okay, everybody. We're about to get out of here. Jamal got to get back to those numbers.
Yes, you know it.
Thanks, Jamal.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.